Hello there, my name is Ben Walker and I'm working today with Promise Yourself to talk to you about some of the things that we're just not taught about at school. This can be anything ranging from mortgages to taxes, buying your first house, basically everything that we need to learn for adult life. And today I'm talking about financial support you may be eligible from the government. Now, if I was to talk about every different kind of support you could possibly get, it would be a very, very long video indeed. So instead, I'm going to focus on the big ones, the ones that most people will either need at some point or may already be receiving. And the first one I'm going to talk about is universal credit. Now, this is the biggie. This is the one that if you are receiving or need to receive financial support, chances are you're going to be looking at universal credit. It can apply to a wide range of people. But one thing that not many people know is even if you are working and you are earning, you still may be eligible for universal credit. So it's definitely something that's worth checking out. So if you need help paying for your housing or paying for food, something along those lines, there's quite a few eligibility criteria that you need to fulfill. So it's always worth checking out basically to see if you can get the support. But that's the one that most people will be thinking about when you think of trying to get financial support from the government. Now, there are a few caveats to this. So of course, if you're earning over a certain threshold, you won't be eligible. If you're earning under that threshold and you start earning more, you'll have to report that and then your universal credit will stop. But the same goes if you are earning and then you lose your job, then you'll start earning more as long as you do report it. Now, if you do benefit from getting universal credit while being over the threshold, you're going to have to end up paying all that money back. So it's really not worth trying to get any extra money because at the end of the day, its support is not meant to be there to keep you, to basically pay your entire wage and then supplement on top of that. It's meant to be for those who really need it. So please don't take advantage of the system. Chances are you're going to get caught out anyway. Now, universal credit can also be used for those who are suffering with a disability, and it also can be used in conjunction with other benefits as well. For example, job seekers allowance or disability living allowance, personal independence payments, and I'll get to some of those later on as well. But it can be used in conjunction with other benefits as well, but it may impact how much you actually get from said benefits in the short term. As if you're getting universal credit, then you can't get the full amount on some of the other benefits. Now, you may have just heard me mention the disability living allowance. Now, this is designed for children under the age of 16 who require more care and supervision than another child that age. Now, this can be very hard to determine. Of course, if you're not sure, it doesn't hurt to try and apply for these benefits. It really doesn't hurt just to try, because it could end up saving you a whole heap of trouble and actually changing your entire way of life really with this extra money. Now, again, there's quite a few eligibility criteria, but essentially it just boils down to two main criteria. So if your child needs either more supervision and care than another child of a similar age, then they may be eligible. Or if your child needs more help moving around, walking, traveling from place to place than another child of a similar age, they may too be eligible. So like I said, it's really worth checking out just to see if you can benefit from the disability living allowance. Now, on top of all this, to be eligible, your child has to have had the illness or disability for at least 3 months, and it must be expected to last at least 6 months. So again, there's some more regulations and rules that you need to fulfill as well. But if your child is terminally ill, then and not expected to last more than 6 months, then you can apply for this benefit at any time. So again, make sure you fulfill the requirements and rules and regs. But apply away if you think you might be eligible, because it could make a massive impact. Now, as the disability living allowance is for those aged under 16, once you turn 16, you're meant to move to the personal independence payment, or PIP. Now the Department for Works and Pensions is trying to phase this out a bit more gradually because the DLA, Disability Living Allowance, was the main one for many years. So there are still people who are on that, who are over 16, but they're trying to turn it so that people over 16 are all on PIP. Now it's a fairly easy process to transition. The DWP, Department for Works and Pensions, should send you a letter saying that it's time for you to transition from the DLA to PIP. Should. Now, this should happen at the end of your, when you turn 16, or when, if your parents are looking after it, they'll get the letter when you turn 16, and then you'll be able to transition over. Again, it's all very similar to with regards to rules and regs. You need to require a certain amount of care and support or difficulty moving around. The post that goes along with this video has got all this information and more. So if you're a bit unsure about what I'm talking about here, read that post and they'll be able to tell you loads more about it in greater detail. It's obviously quite hard to fit all of this into a video without boring your socks off. Now, one thing that's really important to remember about transitioning over to PIP is if the DWP send you that letter and you don't claim PIP within the first 4 weeks, then they're going to stop payments. You have to make sure you're fairly prompt with, answering the requirements of this letter. If they say you need to transition over, you need to transition over, otherwise you could lose payments. So it's really not worth just hanging around waiting to see what happens. You should definitely be proactive because obviously you don't want to miss out on any potential payments that you might get. Now I'm going to go into the eligibility for PIP a little bit deeper, just so you get a better understanding. Now, first of all, you have to have a condition that physically or mentally affects you and impacts you with looking after yourself or moving around in that kind of regards. Again, it's more in depth on the post. Now, you must have experienced this illness or symptoms for at least 3 months and be expecting them to last at least 9 months. And thirdly, you have to be living in England, Wales or Scotland. So again, really do read the post because it goes into a lot more detail than I possibly could. So just make sure you give it a good read if you think you might be eligible. Now, just to tell you a little bit more about what kind of rates you can expect from PIP. So it comes in 2 components. There's the daily living components, which is for all the things that you might need to look after yourself and perform everyday tasks. And then there's the mobility components, which of course is being mobile, getting around. The amount of money you could get from each of these varies quite a lot. So the standard daily component is around £60, whereas the enhanced is more like £90 per week. Whereas the mobility, it drops down a little bit because obviously it's a different payment. So the mobility payment per week is around £25, whereas the enhanced is closer to 60. So per week, that can really add up. It could really be a massive help to lots of people out there who maybe don't know if they might be eligible. If you're not sure, it really doesn't hurt to check. So definitely find out if you could be eligible because it could end up helping you a lot. Now, the length that you may get PIP for really depends on your circumstances. I can't give you a definite answer. There's people who may be able to get indefinite awards, which means that technically there is no end date to your PIP payments, but usually there will be a review every 10 years or so. And then of course it just goes down from there. So however long this condition or illness is expected to last, generally they'll try and make the payment last that long, often with annual reviews, but there's no guarantee that your payments will be reviewed. If you have a change in circumstances, like I said, you should really report it. So if you do unexpectedly get better or if you do deteriorate, you may be eligible for more or less money. So it's really worth letting them know, just in case you could get more money. And obviously you don't want to defraud the Department for Works and Pensions. So I would also let them know, make sure that if you do start to get better, you just don't keep claiming these payments. Now, like I said, the DWP may review your payments or reward. Normally it'll happen about a year before your payments are due to stop. Now, they can review at any time, so don't rest on your laurels and just think you're going to get this money forever and ever and ever, because they can review it at any time. So it's really worth keeping in touch with them, letting them know what's going on. which can save you a bit of time as well. Now, moving on from these types of payments, I'm going to start talking about vouchers. Now, there are a few vouchers out there which could help certain people. So there's the Healthy Start vouchers and certain vitamin vouchers. Now, there are a few more eligibility criteria for this. For example, you need to either be 10 weeks pregnant or have a child under 4, and also be claiming one of the other credits or benefits, for example, universal credit. But these can give you vouchers towards buying good healthy food and vitamins, which of course can be a massive help for those who are struggling to pay for food, who are also pregnant or have a small child. So again, check if you're eligible for those, because again, massive help could be right there. As well as that, your local council may actually supply vouchers for various fixtures and appliances. This is known as the Household Support Fund or something along those lines. It depends on your council or the local council, of course. But you could get vouchers towards paying for a new cooker, for example, something that you need to survive. So again, get in touch with the local council and they'll be able to offer you a little bit more information on this than I ever will, because it depends on which council. And I don't want to go through every single council there is in the UK, because again, that'll make it a very long video. So get in touch with your local council if you need to, and you may be able to get some vouchers towards running your home as well. To certain people as well, if you're eligible, you may be able to get a interest-free budgeting loan. Now, you can use this towards certain things like clothes or furniture or white goods such as fridges and cookers. So again, if you're really struggling, this interest-free budgeting loan can be really helpful, because obviously it's not going to gather interest. You do have to pay it back within a certain amount of time, but if you need some cash fast, it'll be much better than a payday lender. Additionally, there's also a housing benefit. Now, for the most part, housing benefits have been phased out and replaced with universal credit, which has become, the all-encompassing one as much as it can be. It's not very common, but if you've already reached state pension age, then you may be eligible for housing credit as well. Housing benefit, sorry. So if you've reached that age, again, it may be a viable option for you. Now, the final one I'm going to talk about is discretionary housing payments. Now, these are slightly different from the other benefits in the fact that they are supplied purely by your local council. And each local council will have different criteria. But essentially, it can help towards all the costs of running a home. So for example, if you're renting, you can go towards rental costs, bills, and whatnot. Now, to claim this, you do already have to be claiming housing credit or the housing section of universal credit. So you already need to be getting assistance. But if you are, then you can always apply for the discretionary housing payment, which may be able to offer you some extra support to help you meet those bills. Now, if you're really not sure about if you're eligible for any of these benefits, there are some fantastic calculators out there which could be able to help you. If you go to the guide or the post that's going along with this video, at the bottom there will be a link to a benefit calculator which may be able to tell you whether you're eligible for these credits, benefits and payments or not. So it's definitely worth checking out if you think you might be eligible and you are struggling. Don't wait too long, because if you are eligible and you just waited thinking, it'll be fine, you will have missed out on something that could have really helped. So I highly recommend, if you think you might be eligible, don't just do it for the sake of it, but if you think you might be, I highly recommend checking it out and finding out if you could, because the universal credit especially, that has been designed to help a wide array of people. So definitely check it out if you think you need it. My name's been Ben Walker. Hopefully you've learned something today. Hopefully you can go off and get the help you need, and I'll see you next time.